welcome to the virtual Sunday service for the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Lake Norman. Our fellowship members follow different paths to find purpose and meaning, but we are united by our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all beings. We are a liberal and open faith community, and everyone is welcome regardless of race, sexual orientation, gender, economic status, or ability. We are united by our obligation to express our faith through acts of justice and compassion. My name is Jim Price, and I've been an active member of this congregation since 2019, and I've been a Unitarian since 2012. Our opening words today come from Cynthia Landrum, and it's titled, Apart But Together. Apropos, right? Apart but together. Spirit of life and love, we gather together in different ways this morning. From computer screens to telephones, from car radios, we gather, reaching out across the wires, waving from a safe distance to come together in religious community. From living room to front porch to car seat, we gather as we are able, ready to be of service to each other, to the world. Ready to build the community of hope and of love. As we face this bright morning, we are apart, but we are together, offering our love, our commitment, our hope, and our prayers in service to one another and to this world. It is a new way, but an old way, that we come together in worship today. I will now light our chalice, symbol of our faith. And recite our chalice lighting words. We light our flaming chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In our search for truth, may we be just. In our search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. Although many of our beliefs correspond with Buddhist teachings, and we frequently reference Buddhist teaching in our homilies, most of us probably still feel a little bit ignorant about Buddhism. And today, we have an opportunity to bridge the gap because we have a bona fide Buddhist speaker. Our speaker today is Ayya Sudhamma. The title of her presentation is Lessons of the Heart, Distilled Wisdom from 28 Years on the Buddhist Path. A little bit about our speaker. Originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, Bhikkhuni Sudhamma Theri was once married and enjoying a career as an attorney before a catastrophic cancer turned her life completely upside down. In the midst of those trials, she embraced Buddhism, appreciating the teachings on impermanence, and soon she wished to be ordained. She received novice ordination from Bhante Gunaratana in the Bhavana Society in 1999 and higher ordination in 2003 from the newly revived Sangha of the Bhikkhunis in Sri Lanka, the first Western woman to gain that blessing from them. She was the resident monk of the Charlotte Buddhist Vihara in Greenville, South Carolina, for 8 years. In 2013, Ayya Sudhamma founded a small vihara in her hometown, the Charlotte Buddhist Vihara, where she continues to dwell and teach. And you will see the shrine room of this vihara in the background in her presentation today. In May of 2019, Ayya Sudhamma celebrated the 20-year anniversary of her going forth into the saffron robes as a monastic. I'm so sorry we weren't able to do this live, but I know this will be a treat. And now we welcome our friend and teacher with her title, Lessons of the Heart, Distilled Wisdom from 28 Years on the Buddhist Path. Please help me welcome Ayya Sudhamma.
Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Hello, friends. My name is Ayya Sudhamma Bhikkhuni, and I'd like to thank you folks for inviting me to speak to you today. Thank you to Ms. Gail for reaching out and to Reverend Pat for recommending me. Today, I would like to share with you some life lessons that you already have a lot of life lessons, that are shared with you freely. You are the Unitarian folks. I know you already have quite a bit of spiritual wisdom that you've retained or at least had coming to you over the years. I want to share with you some angles that might be a little bit unique to my perspective. So these are the topics I want to cover today. 1, you're the problem. 2, karma is real. 3, learn the lesson right in front of you. 4, too serious. 5, love yourself or else. And 6, you're never going to be good enough. So those are the topics that I'm hoping to cover in a very short period. So why do I say you're the problem? Not just you individually, of course. What's going on there? An enlightened being is someone who has no suffering. This is by definition. An enlightened being is someone who has worked with the underlying processes of their mind, developed incredible wisdom, overcome the problems of the mind, problems of the heart that could ever give them any more trouble, and live with only contentment and goodness and kindness, no more suffering whatsoever through the end of their lives. That, by definition, as we understand it, is an enlightened person. They're happy, contented, they're okay under any circumstance. So what's with us? We're restless, we're antagonized, we're upset, we're full of stress, we see the politics and want to faint. Like, what's up with us? Well, it's that our minds are not healed. Just like a pain in your finger is a warning. Like you find a blister, there's a little injury there. Pain in our lives is a warning that there's not enlightenment here yet, right? So the problem is you. The solution is not fixing the outside. No, that is not the solution. The solution is not fixing the outside. The solution is the spiritual path to absolute peace inside. Along the way, compassion may draw you to do tremendous work without anger, without hate. It's going to be part of, it'll be folded into your spiritual path of softening your heart, rubbing off your rough edges, and ever heading towards spiritual goodness, softness, love. So this is not a path of forcing change on the world because it's making you uncomfortable. Compassion will pull us towards doing good things in the world, try to ease the suffering around us. But no matter what happens, whether our efforts are successful or a complete failure, the enlightened one would still be free of suffering. And if we're not, again, it's that red flag saying, here's the place that needs healing. This is an inside job, seriously. Second on the list is that karma is real. It's very real. And you already know this. You reap what you sow, right? This is the truth. It's not a truth that belongs to one spiritual tradition. This is an ultimate truth that you do reap what you sow. Whatever seed you have planted, that the nature of what it will ripen into is going to be the same. You don't get apples from orange seeds and apple trees out of orange seeds and so forth. It doesn't work like that. Cruelty, hate, all the negative states, they're only going to ripen into more misery. Loving kindness, compassion, generosity, selflessness, humbleness, these sorts of things ripen into more and more goodness and happiness. Unfortunately, if we limit our view to this one lifetime, we don't always see how it plays out. If we understand that there are many, many lifetimes that we might go through and have been going through, then the whole thing can make more sense. We can see the really big, long picture. Well, of course, the bad news in that is that, you do some little thing and it can really hit again and again and again. But the other side of it is that any little good thing can come back to you in beautiful ways again and again and again. The Buddha said, do not say, goodness cannot come to me. Drop by drop is the water pot filled. Keep doing good. You're on a good track, right? Keep doing good. And, goodness ripens towards us even better. The more morally, the more we're on the moral high ground, the not killing anyone or anything, and not stealing, and maybe not coveting, right? Not breaking up families or breaking hearts with our sexual behavior, et cetera, et cetera. Not stealing, not getting drunk or high. These are real basic things that I'm listing here, the 5 precepts, 5 ethical precepts that are really absolutely rock bottom necessary for any kind of happy life. If we have beautiful ethics, beautiful heart, kind of dampening down any kind of greed, hate, delusion, and slowly, bit by bit, overcoming it, the good karma, the evil karma, doesn't really ripen so much. It becomes smaller and smaller in its impact. Like if you throw a ball at the wall, it can bounce back. But if you throw it at a mattress, leaned up against the wall, it just kind of goes thump down. It doesn't come back at you as much. And with, this good moral grounding, when you do good karma, it's like speaking into a megaphone. The voice is amplified. The good karma gets amplified. It can ripen beautifully again and again and again and again, 100-fold, 1,000-fold, 100,000-fold. Some little thing can be amazing good karma for you life after life, even giving you more support in your quest for enlightenment. So keep at it, good folks. Learn the lesson right in front of you. I had cancer. I had a really horrible cancer many years ago. It was, for those medically minded, it was lymphoblastic lymphoma with pleural effusion, is that the word? It was bad. Ended up with chemo, bone marrow transplant, radiation. I went way down. My life was turned upside down like a snow globe. Lost everything. Pretty much everything. And lost my career, lost my marriage. I mean, really lost. Savings. But I gained spiritual truths of a nature that I have no regrets. One day, after the marriage had dissolved and I'd moved to a large house actually, at the foot of a mountain. I had the foothills of Mount Tamalpais in Mill Valley, with a whole bunch of other ladies were living there, and this is my first place that I lived after the marriage dissolved under the pressures of cancer treatment and recovery and all that. Anyway, this house was at the end of a road. Beyond the driveway was a trail up into the under the mountain, fire trails, and so occasionally hikers would come by, and there was this amazing patch of blueberries along the road. So on one side of the road was like a really steep area, and beyond that wound up to the house. On the other side of the road was a sheer drop way down. On the other side of the road was a sheer drop way down. And the blackberries were growing along there. And they were well picked by people passing by. So one day I go down there with a little bag. I'm going to get me some blackberries. And I'm trying to pick, and I'm reaching further and further out towards the cliff, reaching for these blackberries, because the ones right by the road were well picked, but there were some big juicy ones further down. And I shuffled my feet out further and further. I didn't realize I was no longer standing on the road. I was standing on the tangle of vines. At some point, they gave out underneath me, like something from a Roadrunner cartoon. I'm standing there, and then whoosh, I went down, but not all the way down. The vines held me, and I'm up to my neck in blackberry vines. And I don't dare move because there's quite a drop underneath me. And I'm just like this, still clutching my little bag, but I am like this. I don't dare move. And then I look around me. I'm kind of way out there, away from the road now. I mean, some distance, far beyond what any tall, long-armed person could reach. Blackberries looked amazing. I mean, they were like this big. They were huge. They were juicy. I filled my mouth with blackberries. And I reached around and I filled my bag with blackberries. And then I very carefully reached around. I mean, these were big vines, and I reached my hands around the thorns and held on and shuffled my feet to where I was onto some thicker vines, or not vines, but stuff of the blackberries. It was thicker, more supported, and just bit by bit, just shuffled my way to where I could get to the road and hauled myself out. Hardly had any scratches. And that occurred to me as a metaphor for my life regarding the cancer situation. That when I was out there, I had the thought, I never want to be down here again. Let me get from this what I can. And so I've been kind of an opportunistic learner ever since then. When things are really bad, I'm like, I can learn something here. I don't want to be here again. I never want to fall down here again. What can I learn? What can I get from this? And I get from this what I can. And then I go about my way. I got what I could out of that whole terrible, terrible cancer situation. I found Buddhism during that time. And my life went in a whole other trajectory. As I said, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't wish cancer on my worst enemy, but boy, was it a blessing. Another aspect of learn the lesson right in front of you is that the next step on my path to enlightenment is whatever is happening right here and now. It's not whatever happens tomorrow or what I hope for later. It's whatever's irritating me or whatever is happening right here, right now. It's not a mistake. Things haven't gone awry. This here and now is the raw material that is the most well-suited, well put together for me to take advantage of for my next step on the path towards enlightenment. I have faith in that. That's part of my faith in what we call the Dhamma or Dharma. And so learn the lesson well that's right in front of you. What is it? The irritation with your spouse? What's the lesson here? Is it a lesson in patience, a lesson in how to communicate with love? Is the lesson how to be more selfless? Is the lesson how to be patient? Is the lesson how to stand up for yourself, how to care about yourself better and make a change? Like, what's the lesson here, right? But the raw material is whatever is here and now. No mistake. Stop crying and figure it out because it's what's right here. I believe this. Not just me. This is for all of us. Too serious? I've irritated quite a few people in my day. You might be surprised to know. Those who know me wouldn't be. I can be a bit strong in my speech, a little harsh sometimes. So I've alienated some folks that I would have preferred not to have alienated, or walked away from friendships that maybe I didn't have to have walked away from. I've had a bunch of blows and troubles in my life, but every single thing that has some dismay, disappointment, remorse, grief, regret, well, maybe not the grief one so much, that's another topic, but every single thing where I've had social trouble or other trouble in my life that was hard to bear, there's been one common denominator in all of these situations. And it all starts with me taking myself too seriously. Every single one starts with me taking myself too seriously. If I'm taking myself too seriously, I open myself up for trouble, pain, overreacting, alienating others. It's my choice every single time. Now, there may be times I've taken myself too seriously that I didn't get into trouble, but I assure you, every time I've gotten into trouble, it all started with me taking myself too seriously. Learn from that what you will. Might be true for you too, perhaps. Another angle to that is a question of ego. Not part of the reason why it's important not to take myself too seriously is that self is not the solution, not the salvation. Self is, getting back to what's the problem. We don't get enlightenment or any other kind of spiritual heights by creating a bigger, better self. We don't become this angelic being that can fill the room. We get less. We drop the dross. We remove everything that's unenlightened about us, our habits, our thoughts, our ways of being, the things we say and do. What's unenlightened about me? That's what needs to go. Assumptions, belief systems. What's unenlightened about our anger, our greed, our hate, our delusion, confusion? Whatever is unenlightened, we remove it bit by bit. We deconstruct. And the Buddha gave us all kinds of methods, ways that we deconstruct. It's a bit much to explain right now, but for example, there might be something I really want. Oh, that's so delicious looking over there. And then think, wait, what happened? There was light and color that came to the eye. There was a stimulation at the eye together with consciousness. And there were certain perceptions, and desire arose, and with the desire became this wish. So we deconstruct what's going on bit by bit. Not that I want this, that's so good, but look at the three kinds of feelings: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. See how we're driven by them. See how desire arises on the basis of them. See the discomfort that comes with desire that we want to solve by getting what we want and having that delight, which is actually the hook of samsara that will keep us miserable ultimately. Anyway, we deconstruct what's really, really happening into the little smaller bits of data of what's actually really truly happening here and now, and see that it's not all about me, but that there's a lot of cause and effect happening that I need to be working with more skillfully. And is not any one part of it permanent? See what can be kind of dropped. So we drop the dross, we drop the unenlightenment, we kind of slice and dice all of our experiences in various ways. Like looking at this whole body, head to toe. My body, oh, is it really? Well, there's skin and there's flesh and there's bones in here, and there's this organ and that organ, and there's blood and yuck. Like we look at it dispassionately. What is it? Is it my body, or is it all these smaller bits that each one of them belong to nature and cannot be controlled? They have their own way. And then we see the falsehood in the I and mine and me and myself. We see the falsehoods in that because we add all of this extra stuff to it. When we deconstruct and look at the reality as it actually is, it's easier to kind of let go and not be so grasping and have more room for freedom and happiness. There's a lot to throw at you. Sorry about that. Okay. Love yourself or else. There's a quote of the Buddha that he said, you could look around the whole world and try to find someone most worthy of your love, but you'll never find anyone more worthy of your love than yourself. Something to that effect. And I really think that's true. You know, there's that meme out there. I had to learn what a meme was recently. Ask somebody if you don't know. There's a meme out there of one job. Like a classic example would be like a coffee mug that has the handle fastened on the inside. Like someone had one job to put on the handle and they did it totally wrong. Or somebody was supposed to paint the line straight down a road and they made a little curvy line instead of a straight one. One job. You had one job and you blow it. You got one job to make one being less unhappy, one being more content and loving and loved and less unenlightened, more spiritually beautiful. You got one job to work with one being. I mean, you, not me, you. You got one job to help this one being be a little more happy, a little more free, step by step, day by day, moment by moment. You got one job. And if you're not loving yourself, fail. You got one job. If there's no self-love, self-kindness, self-compassion, there's no real ground in which to stand to have any kind of spiritual awakening. You got to have this love. And it actually matters to other people too. Because if nothing else, it's like popcorn. Let's say you and your family are going to sit down and watch a movie and you make the popcorn and you put on it the salt, or you put on it the butter, or you put on it the caramel, or whatever it is you put on that popcorn. You make a huge bowl of it, you stir it up, and you set it on the table, and you're eating it, and they're eating it too. Whatever you're putting out there towards you is what you're feeding other people. If you're feeding love to you, you're feeding love to them. If you're feeding love to them, real love, real, what we call metta, universal kindness, loving kindness. If you're really feeding that to you, that's what you're feeding others. If you're really feeding that to others, that's what you're feeding to you. It's one bowl of popcorn. Yeah, kitty. Hello, kitty. Kitty, kitty. Okay. He's just going to meow down here. Oh, look, there he is. Thank you. Yes. Hi, sweetheart. Because I'm talking to this machine instead of playing with him. And that's just completely unacceptable to a Maine Coon type cat, right? So, you have my permission to edit that out. The time is tight. So it's just so important to love ourselves. Real love, not selfishness, not to be like, well, I love me, so I get the last cookie. Not that kind of love. But real love, where there's kindness, compassion, inwardly directed, refreshing your own heart, and giving yourself a heart so big it's embracing everyone else in all their messiness and their complexity. And then finally, you're never going to be good enough. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm not saying that to be mean. You're never going to be good enough unless you're already good enough right now. Why would I say such a thing? Because the fault-finding mind is insatiable. You're already good enough, or you're never going to be. Just go ahead and decide you're good enough. Do yourself that favor. Be that kind. You're already good enough. And people around you, they're already good enough. And they never will be. The fault-finding mind is miserable. It's a terrible taskmaster. Let it already be good enough. It doesn't mean you can't improve, but you're going to improve a lot better from a place of acceptance than that cruelty of not good enough yet. And there's another angle to it too. When you have some kind of opening of the heart, and spiritual development, or develop a skill, or any improvement of yourself of any type, your expectations go up. Let's say you started off being able to only weight lift, say even just a little bar without any weight on it. And then you get to 5 pounds. You're like, well, that's good. But what about 7 pounds? Then you get 7 pounds. That's good. But what about, and when you've gotten to 24, you feel yourself a failure because you can't do 26. And you've gotten to 26 and you're a failure because you can't do 30. You will never be good enough if you're not already good enough now, because whatever you can carry and do and endure, your expectations of yourself go up. And so you're always chasing that carrot, like the carrot in front of the donkey that just dangles there and makes the donkey want to move forward. You will always be chasing that carrot to have a little bit of improvement and more and more and more. There's no satiating the fault-finding mind. And other people do the same thing. When you get spiritually more mature, let's say you get spiritually more mature to a factor of 4, then they're going to be mad at you for not being spiritually mature to a factor of 5. And if you get like ultimate spiritual maturity to a factor of 9, like you are radiant, you are amazing, you're like an angel on earth, they're going to be mad at you that you went to a factor of 10. You will not live up to their expectations. In fact, when you look around and you find people's expectations of you are very, very, very high, and you're failing their very high expectations, pat yourself on the back. They would not have high expectations of you if you weren't doing really, really well. But they'll be really mad at you. So this is my talk to you today. I hope it has been useful. I hope it has been interesting. And I hope that it's going to be, a good beneficial part of your life as you walk towards greater and greater freedom and happiness. Be well.
And now for a musical reflection from Teresa Woody. Thank you, Ayya, for your guidance, experience, and wisdom this morning. We're grateful for you and that you could be with us, and we hope we'll meet with you live in the near future. And now for a few announcements. If you're a visitor, welcome. We're pleased that you chose to give our virtual service a try. If you like what you've heard and would like to stay connected with us or to get involved with our congregation, please reach out to our membership chair, Linda Heidenberg, whose email address should be found at the bottom of the screen. Some other announcements. Monday night, September 20th, will be the first Chalice Circle meeting of the year, so there's still time to join. We do have a couple of open slots. If you're interested in joining this group, contact Tim Brown right away, if you will. The subject tomorrow night will be evil and what it means to use. Chalice circles are an excellent way to get to know people at a little deeper level and to explore some very interesting subjects. So if you've never been in a chalice circle before, you might want to try this one. We'd like to thank everybody who participated in the redistricting workshop last week. It was very informative and fun. We learned a lot, and we got to see how we can make a contribution to the process. I won't go into a lot of detail here, but it was very well received, well done, and well received. Feed NC has a sort of an urgent request for extra volunteers next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's the 21st, 22nd, and 24th. The shifts run from 9 until 1:30, and it involves preparing the food, cooking the food, and then dishing out the food, so to speak. It's actually quite interesting. You learn a little bit about cooking, especially cooking for large groups. The chefs are very good, and they're patient, and they're glad to teach you. And so it's a good opportunity. Our church, our fellowship, already volunteers there once a month of that same time frame, except that it's the second Thursday of the month. And so we welcome volunteers for that as well. And if you're interested in those opportunities, if you're interested in the monthly volunteering, contact Jim Arnold. And if you're interested in one of those slots next week, contact Paul at the feednc.org. Okay, how did you spend your summer? The social action team would love to know. Did you call legislators, state or federal? Did you write a letter or op-ed for the newspaper, attend a training or workshop, feed the hungry, something else? Please let us know and we'll share with the congregation, and you may remain anonymous if you like, or you can be named. Your call. Contact socialaction@uulakenorman.org, and your participation in this will be appreciated. It sounds like fun, so we'll see what happens with that. For members, we're not passing a basket virtually, obviously, but we encourage you to keep your pledges up. Also, we encourage members to keep reaching out to one another. We hope we'll be back live one of these days. The pandemic will end. And for now, I will extinguish the chalice, but not the flame of love that lives in our hearts. So now, let us go forth and conquer the day and the week. Namaste, shalom, go in peace.